What's good, everybody? Welcome to it. It's your boy, back again with yet another installment of What's What and Who's Who in the scene right now. As you should know by now, I hope everyone is well and safe at home, or wherever it is that you are when you see this, man. It's a new year, so we're kicking it off on some new shit, right? A few days ago, the young Neo in action himself, A-Reece, took to his SoundCloud account and dropped some fire on us. He titled his track Strictly for My Bitch, so we're about to break this shit down and see if there's a couple of things you could have missed while listening to it. Who knows? Stick around. I'd like to emphasize that this is not a reaction video. I'm not about to act like I didn't listen to this shit like 3,000 times before we made this. So don't get it twisted, because it's important that you know and understand that we had to sit down and discuss this track like a William Blake poem, because that's the type of analysis our art needs. This is not just entertainment. We need to understand its importance. So without wasting any time, let's get it. Now, before we kick things off, I'd like to remind everyone to click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so that you can always know whenever we drop new content. So, Strictly for My Bitch, right? Firstly, what an interesting title. Like, what an interesting choice of words that he uses here, because it's a song about his girlfriend, and Reece has a couple of songs that he's made in the past about his girlfriend, but he's never really felt the need to specify and clarify that this is strictly for my bitch, you know? We kind of always assume that, okay, it's a love song, so it must be about the person that he's dating. But the fact that he's clarifying is very telling. It's not something to be ignored, you know? Because he could have just said for my bitch, but the fact that he said strictly for my bitch, that's not a coincidence. So that's something to take note of. Very Quentin Tarantino-ish. It sounds like a Quentin Tarantino movie with those strings. Oh shit, then the sample comes in. Dude, like Mash is a wizard with samples. Mash is like a young Kanye West in terms of the way he samples and the way he uses samples, because like you could hear the strings, the Quentin Tarantino feel, and then as soon as the sample comes in, now that's the melody, and that's something that Kanye West is known to do. He uses the human voice to create these abnormal melodies in his songs, because these melodies are something that you can't really achieve using a conventional instrument. You can only achieve them using the human voice. So kudos to Mash. He's a fucking master. He chops a sample like he chops a check. Sue him. From this intro alone, you can already tell that it's not about to be one of those lit, you know, quote unquote lit songs. It's about to be a message that we're given, because producers do this thing where they make the beat as minimal as possible so that you can focus on the words, particularly in songs where the message is more important than the grand production. Because even in this song, you can hear that the production is very repetitive, which is something that he employed, a technique that he also employed in the EXP series. Like the releases that they had were EXPs. Those are basically statements. And so is this song. It's also a statement, because it's not a very production-oriented song. It's a very message-oriented song. It's not even 50-50. It's completely like message-oriented. The production is there just to enhance and create the mood, which is just as important. But I'm just saying that the purpose of the song. So yeah, let's keep it running.
Yeah, I give her good dick when she get anxious. Fuck her like I'm trying to make a statement.
Off the cuff, that just reminds you of the cadence that Drake uses in Headlines. I give a good dick when she get anxious. Fuck her like I'm trying to make a statement. I might be too strong out on compliments. Overdose some confidence. You know, the cadence is similar, but Reece's is more laid back and more calm. Artists usually do this where they start a song off with something that you're familiar with, just to warm you up to where he's about to take you. So yeah, it's fucking interesting. Let's keep going.
Fuck her till she asked me if I came yet. Fuck her back to sleep. She woke up and asked the nigga where the day went. Told her what I'm packing is sedative. Now I got her wetter than a wave is. We on the same wavelength. I know we both started from the pavement.
One thing about Reece, right? He's all about images. Like, his words create these images in your mind where you're picturing what he's saying. Like how he says, I got her wetter than a wave is. You're imagining a wave like an ocean, like where there's waves and whatnot. And then when he says we're on the same wavelength, now it's a concept now that's associated with the previous imagery only by the word wave, because the wavelength now is about mentality and how they're in the same state of mind. They're in the same, like, because I suppose they're both A-Reece as well, you know. Now it's going somewhere it shouldn't be going. But basically what I'm trying to say is that he uses references to move from imagery to ideology. However many years ago William Blake was alive, that many years in the future, those people are going to be looking back and listening to Reece and studying his poem, because that's how it works. William Blake wasn't even famous in his time. Shakespeare wasn't famous in his time. He died broke. He didn't pop. He blew up when he died. So considering the fact that this guy is famous right now and he's still employing the same level of poetry or technique when he approaches his writing, tells you that this is going to be shit they're studying in the future.
I know we both started from the pavement, got it how we could, and now we higher than Dubai skyscrapers.
Now you go from like the waves in the ocean, now you're in the city, and the imagery starts at a pavement, and then it goes straight to the top of a skyscraper. Paint pictures with words, no brush and palette, in his own words.
I'm rolling blunts longer than my grandma's prayers. Fuck the neighbors, that pussy so good I could eat.
Look at how he transitions from Dubai to back home with his grandma, where, you know, he's praying with her and realizing that, yo, this is quite a long prayer type shit. The transition was the blunt, because you're imagining a skyscraper, then the skyscraper turns into a blunt, a long ass blunt. But then the length of the blunt is being associated with the length of
my grandma's prayers. Fuck the neighbors, that pussy so good I could eat it on the table.
Now we're going from home, you know, where he's with his grandma, and now we're in Raquel's apartment or her place where she lives. Through references and through imagery, the references he uses makes us imagine that IG live stream that Raquel did, where she was playing John Doe and then she put it on full blast and she said,
fuck the neighbors.
Now that's where we at, where she was when she said that.
Yeah, they hate the fact that I'm still with you. They hate the fact you keep getting a load of this real nigga. I tell them go figure, the court got no limit. I could feed a whole village.
Reece is one of those artists who are also, besides the imagery and the references, he's also very good at making compact statements. Meaning, I don't know, you might call them puns, or I don't know, metaphors, I suppose. But the reason why I say compact is because he could use one word in a sentence to make that sentence about different people. Because, okay, I tell him go figure is a Tato Soul reference. If you haven't heard Members Only, the album by Tato Soul, go check it out. Fuck. Go listen to that shit. The very last track called Trust Nothing, you can hear that phrase, I tell him go figure. So that's a reference to him, number one. That's basically like a I wouldn't say a cosign, because we had to figure it out by ourselves. He didn't tell us and he didn't introduce us to him. But basically, if you know type thing. And now you know if you didn't. This is about to sound like a reach, right? The other person that he's referring to by you know, I tell him go figure, the card got no limit. The term figure now makes it about Boiti. Because, listen, I don't know if you've heard 4436 by Boiti, the album. If you haven't, again, another beautiful piece of work. Go check it out. On there's a song called 6+4, where Boiti says, word for word, niggas trying to hit it with very little to mention. I could fuck for free, but you gotta pay for my presence. In case you don't get it, I'm selling time for these figures, right? Figures, right? So the reason why I think I tell him go figure, the card got no limit, I could feed a whole village, is also about Boiti's, because Boiti in those couple of bars was responding to Reece. Because you need to remember that Boiti is famous because she's a personality. She's not famous for rapping. Now she just recently started rapping and then that gained momentum. But whenever she talks about niggas and whenever she starts throwing shots, it's not about other personalities or whatnot. Not usually, but yeah, we're going to be discussing Boiti's album among other albums in the next video. So check that out. It's going to drop in a couple of days. But we're going to expand more on that later. But for now, the point I'm trying to get across is that whenever she says something on the mic, you need to understand that whatever she says is about niggas in the game. Purely. Don't think it's about niggas you don't know. No. That's a bitch in a man suit. He get no respect. That's, you know, you got to put 2 and 2 together and see like, yo, it's 4, right? So yeah, on 6+4, when she says niggas trying to hit it with very little to mention, the only nigga in the game who's ever said openly that he wants to hit Boiti is Reece. on Meanwhile in Pitori. He says that, he has a hit list, and no disrespect to Casper, but Boy T is in it because Casper was dating Boy T at the time. But the point is that hit list, that's the word I'm trying to get at, because Boy T said hit it. She could have said niggas trying to fuck, but she was like niggas trying to hit it with very little to mention, right? The reason why she said hit it is because Reece said that she's on his hit list. Then the very little to mention part, what other rapper in the game is catching more flack for focusing too much on one thing, which is the music, as opposed to other things like monetary wealth and like physical wealth and possessions and shit? Reece. Reece is the only guy who's talked down on when it comes to like financial moves. So when she says niggas trying to hit it with very little to mention, this is a Reece reference. This is her referring to Reece and responding to Meanwhile in Pitori. But her response is that you can't hit it because you don't have much to mention. So now Reece is saying that I tell her, go figure, the card got no limit. I could feed a whole village and still have enough to spoil you with it. Spoil his bitch with it. A bitch who was dating a 50-year-old before she dated this nigga. You understand what I'm trying to say? He's standing his ground, He's standing his ground and saying, nah, I do have a lot to mention. Other than the catalog, which is already like fucking concrete, like I have so much more to mention. And yeah, basically that's him just, responding to Boy T. Reece on Amber Rose was like, I could pay for anything but not the sex. Then Boy T's like, I could fuck for free, but you gotta pay for my presence because, her time is money, dog. In case you don't get it, I'm selling time for these figures. This is why we had to do a breakdown of the song, because when you listen to Reece's music, he says some things that applies to more than one person in so many different ways that it's like, it's one of those things where if the person who's hearing those things that apply to them are listening to that, they'll be like, whoa, shit, is this nigga talking about me? Because the truth fits. Probably why he named the song Strictly For My Bitch. Let's get it.
And still have enough to spoil you with it.
Oh, and also the line about I could feed a whole village. Because the cover is a king and a queen sitting on a throne. Now the imagery involved here is you imagining a king feeding his entire population and still having enough left over to spoil his queen. So yeah, there's that.
Fuck with me and I'll take you on a hiatus. They don't even have a reason why they hate us.
Fuck with me and I could take you on a hiatus. They don't even have a reason why they hate us. Okay, we'll come back to that one. Can we also discuss the cover right now? This song is like three masters in their craft. Reece, the wordsmith, Mash, the producer, and the artist who made this cover. It all fits in so perfectly. It's as if three masters came together just to give us one experience, us, the fans. And I feel like this is the type of energy we need to take through all 2020, where masters in their craft come together to give us, the fans, a great experience. The cover art, basically, what's interesting about it, what's very fascinating is when you look at it, it's quite creepy, but like artistic creepy. Picasso creepy, Or like Kanye and Google would say, African cubism creepy. The most interesting part about this art is how there are multiple faces on each body. The male figure has like a couple of faces, and the female figure also has a couple of faces, which seem like more than the male figure's faces. Those pictures where they're like, spot how many faces or guess how many faces, and then you write it in the comment section. This is one of those arts where it's like you can tell that there's more than one faces by looking at like how many round shapes are on the face. The round shapes kind of seem like eyes. So when you look at it like that, it's like a face will emerge. You'll spot the nose and then you spot the mouth. It's very interesting because he says it's strictly for his bitch, but on the female figure, there's more than one face. So what does this represent? Let us know in the comment section what you think. Actually, also let us know how many faces you can spot. And yeah, let us know what you think this represents. Does it seem, is it them going through time? Is this like a motion thing where it's still the same people but through different phases in time? Could that be what the artist was conveying, like time, the motion of time, and this is them going from young to old together? Or could this mean that these are multiple people that are being referenced here? And it's not really strictly for his bitch. Like, contrary to the title, it's not really strictly for his bitch. It's about more than his bitch. It's about more people. Could these people be the slimes? Who knows? Let's talk about it in the comment section. This is one of those that are kind of open for interpretation. A lot of them are, because art is subjective. No one can tell you what is real and what's not, and especially when you're looking at art. So whatever opinion you have, it's very valid. Hit the comment section. Let's go.
Yeah, I tell her, baby, I'm a
And also how okay, sorry. Also how the female figure has her arm around the male figure and tightly, and then the male figure's hands are both by his side. So the reason why I ask if could this be the slimes is because slimes are working overtime. Slimes are holding Reece down. Could this be like a representation of that, of slimes constantly holding Reece down? Because when you go on social media, go on Twitter, go on fucking Instagram, probably on Facebook too, you find slimes defending Reece and singing his praises. Could this female figure also represent the slimes because of how slimes are holding this nigga down constantly and shit?
man switched up to the Valentinos from the Ray-Bans. I tell her cancel if you made plans, cause that pussy so fire got me feeling like a caveman. 2 years later, I can't believe we're still together. Last year, I didn't even think that we would see December.
2 years later, and I can't believe we're still together. Last year, I didn't even think we'll see December. This is actually, this statement is more of a timestamp because it's a reference more to the times as opposed to their own personal hardships. Because a lot of people don't realize that, like, everyone was going through relationship problems in 2020. Like, the pandemic, it shook up a lot of relationships. A lot of them ended. Dr. Dre went through a divorce after decades of marriage. So it was actually a global phenomenon where a lot of relationships just ended because of COVID. It kind of tested a lot of. So this is a reference to that, basically, the way I see it, like the current affairs, because he says that, yeah, he thought they wouldn't see December. And a lot of relationships didn't last year. A lot of marriages didn't. So, yeah, it's more a statement about the times than a personal thing. Because here's why I say it's not really a personal thing.
I'm guessing that we're God's favorites. You always getting mad at me just to make up like an hour later. But I like it cause it ain't too complicated.
So that's more their relationship.
You like it when I'm kissing down your navel. Shit is lit and I'm the power cable.
Shit is lit and I'm the power cable. So earlier on, he talks about how that pussy so fire, it got him feeling like a caveman. So now the imagery again is being employed. Imagine the caveman times, and then the caveman just discovered fire. And then now there's motion. Since they discover fire, time is moving, which the 2 years later gives you that sense. Then from there, things keep on moving forward and moving forward and moving forward. And now he's talking about how shit is lit and I'm the power cable. So now man is no longer in the cave. We use that fire to create things that got us out of the cave and into a house where we're using power cables now. This is a whole flow. You know, in music, they have this concept. It's called progression. Chord progression, particularly, where if you play the same notes on the piano, whatever you're playing sounds it sounds very dead. There's no movement. It sounds very boring and very stale. So you need to have progression in order for the music to sound like it's moving forward. Reece is a wordsmith. He's not a producer by nature. So he uses words to basically communicate that progression. So this is like a man's journey ever since man discovered fire. Now we're in houses when we're using power cables. So that progression is also another skill. Dude, this man is showing off here.
Pay no mind to all the commentators. They just commentating.
This is a reference to Flame's ex, right? She spilled the beans about like Raquel and how, you know, she is where she is right now and shit. Like, you know, so Reece is like, fuck the commentators. Ashley did try to like run this girl's name through the mud. So yeah, this is more reference to that. And then also he says, fuck the commentators. He would have said, fuck the commentator if it was only one person. Ashley mentioned how when Raquel was dating that older guy,
she even tattooed his initials on her arms and shit. Like it was,
which is something that she did when she started dating Reece as well. She got like a tattoo of his initials on her body and shit. Even like a tattoo of his tattoo, like the 100-3 tattoo. So it's like, yeah, that's just, I suppose, how she rolls and how she conveys her deep affection. I don't know. Different strokes for different folks. No one can judge. But the point is that Sammy Heavens went on a story and she did actually judge. These are things that happen on the timeline. They just happen, you see them, and you don't really know what you're looking at when you see them. These people aren't just doing things because they're bored. Everything they do is a message, and you need to look at it that way in order for you to kind of appreciate the fuller picture that's happening here. So Sammy Heavens is also a commentator in this situation.
Fuck them, they can take it how they wanna take it. Cause I'ma end up putting something in that fucking cradle. Yeah, fuck with me and you guaranteed to be famous. They don't even have a reason why they hate us. Yeah.
He might end up putting something in a fucking cradle, which basically implies having a baby. And the only other time where he references having a baby is on Reese Effect, where I can't remember, what's the name of the song? You don't love me, you just loving what I do to you. Responsibilities, basically. He says that we play it safe, but we might make a baby. So that was the first time he referenced that. And then fast forward, Costa Titch and Focalistic, you can hear in the music where it's like they're in a different phase in their careers where they're still kind of afraid that they might get a girl pregnant, because she gets pregnant, that's a loot. She's hit the lotto because now he's got to pay child support and shit. And yeah, it's basically a come up for a lot of women in this country. Nobody's ready for that conversation. I don't know if I even should have mentioned that, but it's happening out in the streets. And that's why these artists talk about it. It's not something special that they go through particularly. A lot of niggas go through some shit like that where they are afraid that some girls might trap them with the baby and shit. But then at some point, you're going to settle down and you're going to want your supporters to see you settling down, because you need to understand that a lot of children look up to these artists as father figures, because children grow up without fathers in this country. So they literally live their lives according to what they say and how these artists portray themselves. So it's very important for artists to get to a point where they start introducing this idea of family.
Fuck with me and you guaranteed to be famous. They don't even have a reason why they hate us.
Fuck with me and you're guaranteed to be famous. They don't even have a reason why they hate us. So he said this like 3 times in the song. And I just want to discuss that and break it down and like basically close off with that, because it's important. There's, repetition. If he says it more than once, it's an important part of the song. So firstly, at the end of the first verse where he said, fuck with me and I could take you on a hiatus. Dictionary meaning of hiatus is a gap in a series, making it incomplete. If you know anything about Reese, you know that he sees his life story as a parable. He sees it as a message that a lot of people are going to go back and actually look at and study in order for them to learn lessons and life lessons from. Kind of like Jesus, you know what I mean? Where Jesus' life is actually a lesson to so many people way past his own life. Like, we still look at Jesus' life for lessons. And that's what a parable essentially is. So when he says, fuck with me and I could take you on a hiatus, and a hiatus is a gap in a series, making it incomplete, it sounds like he's playing around with the idea of kind of taking a break from the music industry. Now it's a question that's hanging in the air where he'll have to clarify later on in the future. But knowing this guy, he definitely will. He won't just use the word like that and then just leave it. What I want to talk about is the part where he says, fuck with me and you're guaranteed to be famous. They don't even have a reason why they hate us. This hate that Reese talks about, it seems to be like a theme in Reese's career, or a motif, as English teachers would say, but it's reoccurring. It's something that keeps on coming back, where he keeps talking about how they hate him, and he views like the industry like that, as people who are against him. And I wonder why. That's something that I always wonder, because it's like, yo, why would they hate this man when Slimes like everyone who shows him love? Like, people who show him love are famous to Slimes. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, why would you hate him? They don't have a reason to hate him. If they show love, then the Slimes return the love. But I guess then again, he has to accept the love that he receives from people in order for Slimes to return it. A lot of people in the industry got love for Reese, dog. Like, they show Reese love all the time, but he doesn't acknowledge it. Does he want love from specific people? Or does he not trust the intentions of the people who are already showing him love? You know, could he have the fear that they could be showing him love, just for the clout? But I mean, it's something that's kind of gotten out of his control either way, because now it's gotten to a point where anyone in the game can just retweet a tweet that just mentions Reese for clout. If you look at something and you give it attention and you engage it, you go comment or you like, or, even if you're hating in the comment section, you're still giving the person clout, because clout is attention. So people can do that. People can actually use things that Reese, like the $sign, for instance, instead of the S, use a $sign. And that is going to get the Slime's attention, because the $sign is so attached to Reese. This is the love that Nasty C talks about receiving so much of that you'd swear that he thinks it's real. You know, it's fake love. He knows it. You know what I mean? Which is another thing that shows how incomparable these artists are. It's how they deal with something they both have to experience, which is fake love. You know, it comes with the territory. One takes it as if it's real. You know, he accepts it, embraces it, and uses it to up himself as if it's real, you know. But he knows it's not real. It's fake love. He understands that. And then the other rejects it and only keeps the love he's sure to be real around him and nobody else's. You know, who's handling it better? Who knows? Only time will tell. The story still unfolds. I'm thinking we should do this more often. I don't know. Tell us what you think in the comment section, because there's a lot of great artists in this country. So very little time. So hit us up. Tell us if we should do this more often and break down more songs, because a lot of songs are loaded with meaning, you know. It's not just words. This is more than entertainment. It always has been. Which brings us to the end of this chapter of Nazo, dog. Now remember, click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you know as soon as a new video drops. And on behalf of myself and the entire Nazo family, I'd like to say thank you guys for all the love and support you've shown us so far. I mean, we haven't been doing this for that long, but I have to tell you, the love we're getting, it's already overwhelming, man. And we want more of it. We can't get enough of it. So keep it coming. Keep the fire burning. There's so much more in store. Share and like this video if you enjoyed it. And until next time, from me, your boy, you know what it is, man. Stay safe.